Today's forum is sponsored by U.S. Bank, represented by Jeff Hastings and his associates, the Dispatch, represented by Phil McKelney and his associates. Please thank them for their support. I'd like to invite Phil to the stage to introduce today's speakers.
I'm very glad to be here. The Columbus Dispatch, where I have my day job, my real job these days is chair of the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium board. You know, on behalf of the Columbus Dispatch, we have always admired and respected what CMC does and are very glad to be part of today's program. I will tell you that I'm now in my third month as board chair at the zoo, and I've learned two things. One is when you're near Jack Hanna, you need to stand about 5 people over, otherwise you will be trampled. The second thing that I learned is everybody that you meet who is over 40, 45 years old will tell you how they brought Jack Hanna to town. It's the most amazing thing. I mean, everybody on our board brought Jack to town. People at our company brought Jack to town. But I'm also happy to be here because it was the Wolf family that founded the Columbus Zoo that Jack did such a great job of building. So it's my privilege to introduce today's speakers. The first speaker really doesn't need introduction. He's director emeritus of the zoo, an author and animal advocate. His success on television includes Jack Hanna's Animal Adventures, Into the Wild. Jack and the Columbus Zoo have gotten much praise and notoriety. Perhaps more importantly, it has educated the public and really given wonderful memories to everybody who has ever visited the zoo or lived in Columbus. So please welcome Jack Hanna. The next person on the podium is quickly becoming my second favorite person, and I'm not going to tell you who the favorite person is. He began as a zookeeper. He's worked his way up in zoo management. He joined the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in 2010 as senior vice president, was named president and CEO about a month ago at our board meeting. You can check out his wildlife and wild places videos on YouTube, especially the one where he brushes the teeth of a rhinoceros. So please welcome Tom Stalf, who is CEO of the zoo. And then as part of my day job, I get the privilege of introducing Jeff Hogan. Jeff, who is our moderator today, began as a sportscaster at 10 TV in 1998. He changed his sleeping habits in 2009 to become the morning co-anchor on 10 TV. So please welcome Jeff Hogan. And on behalf of U.S. Bank and the Columbus Dispatch, Jeff, the microphone's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. I appreciate that. And it is certainly my pleasure to be here serving in this capacity and representing the Dispatch Broadcast Group here today. A lovely bunch here, all here to see and hear from these two gentlemen, and we are looking forward to it. We're going to have a nice half hour. We're going to allow the folks to have a couple of questions here towards the end, but certainly we've got lots to talk about here with the Columbus Zoo and what is new there. That's the theme. I saw it on the flyer there of what's happening. And Jack, 200 visits per year, and he's spending lunch with us for one of those visits, fresh off the road from Panama. So for those of you who thought you were coming in and seeing Jack Hanna, the new president and CEO, and Jeff Logan, the former captain of Buckeye football, I apologize. You don't have that trifecta going. It's just me, so we're going to have to deal with this. But we're certainly going to have some fun today with these guys. And Jack, why don't you start us off? Fresh off the road from Panama, a little sleep in the eyes, but you get up and you do it again and again every time.
I love what I do. I love this city and love the Columbus Zoo more than any of you can imagine what it's done for our family. A lot of you know we came here in '78 looking for a hospital for our daughter Julie with cancer. We also came here. They just happened to be looking for a zoo director. Of course, they'd been through 3 zoo directors, I think, in 4 years. So me being 30 years old, I couldn't screw up. So they couldn't screw up. So anyway. And believe it or not, I don't know who's a lot, but real quickly, I'll be remiss. Who from the Columbus Zoo is here, our board members? You stand up, please. These are folks that help make our zoo possible. There are about 5 or 10 of them in here today. Stand up if you're here. I know some of you are in here. Thank you so much for all you do for us. So, with that said, though, Jeff,
Yeah.
I know we only have 30 minutes, but I could spend 30 minutes just on what it was like when we got here. But you can picture, folks, the Columbus Zoo back then. As a matter of fact, I like to jump around a lot, you'll see. Anyway, my first speech I ever did was at this Columbus Club. Look into your records if you want to. We had the zoo, if you remember the zoo in 1978. Well, I took slides of these animals, and then I kind of cheated. I went and got some African slides, too. And I came in here with my, you know that song, The Lion Sleeps Tonight? I had it played. I got my little projector back there, and I was just shaking in my boots. But I said, this is the best zoo in the world. This is the best zoo. It's going to be the best zoo in the world. I had no idea what I was talking about because I was so proud just to be here and meet everybody. And that was my first speech right here at this club in 1979, probably it was. So what you've done for the Hanna family, the Columbus Zoo, the citizens of Central Ohio, a lot of you folks with companies in this room, you'll never know. I was just in Nashville doing a big benefit with you know, a lot of the singers you guys have heard of, raising a lot of money for the inner city gym they have down there for the kids. It's amazing how people know Columbus. It really is. When you talk about Columbus, they love to come here. And you sure didn't hear a lot of that in 1978. So it's amazing what you guys have built here. Tomorrow morning, we actually leave. And I know you get to watch this over Easter. They asked me what I was doing tomorrow. So this table did. I said, well, I'm taping the Maury Povich show. So trust me, I didn't make love to a goat or something, or DNA, all right? So it's not that at all. Maury Povich, I do this show, everybody, because it's an Easter show I tape, and then the next Christmas show. I do 2 shows a year for him. You're not allowed to do any advertising with that garbage he has on during our shows. So if you hear about that, that's what it's Easter for the family show is what it is. And then we do Good Morning America after that, and we do another thing for the aquarium tomorrow night, and then we do another show for CNN. But that's constantly what our life is. It's been a dream of mine to be a zoo director, a zookeeper all my life. I was raised on a farm in Tennessee. It was all my dream all my life. I got to live that dream. Dream about Marlin Perkins and Wild Kingdom. A lot of you might have seen it when you were younger, too. To think I could just at least get to step out of Tennessee, much less do something else. And you guys have given me that opportunity to travel the world and bring the animal world to a lot of people throughout the world. So we're on the road about 260-something days last year. My wife and I, Sue. Actually, Kathleen did the show with me, but she met some guy in England and got married, got pregnant, had 2 kids, and screwed the whole show up. So now my wife has to do the show with me. Anyway.
Well, at least there were no farm animals involved in that either. So I didn't think I'd get to talk again today.
No.
And that's okay.
And you wonder
what was your question? I don't even know what the question was.
Well, Jack, what's
It's
new at the zoo?
certainly,
Oh, yeah.
certainly not important.
Well, okay, that's important. Tom, tell him what's new.
All right, I'll show you. Thank you.
Well, he mentioned 30. He mentioned the age of 30. I wanted to get a little background on you at the age of 30. What were you doing at the age of 30?
Well, I was running a zoo in Illinois, and I had been in that position for about 6 years. I was the youngest zoo director in the United States at that time, and I had a great opportunity to meet Jack Hanna through my good friend Harry Peachy. And if you don't know Harry, Harry's our elephant expert. Harry, stand up real quick one more time. Let's hear it for Harry Peachy. I had one of my good friends, Kathy Shaboom, was an Asian elephant at Niabi Zoo in Moline, Illinois. And Harry helped me out as an elephant consultant and to give Shaboom more room. And we did a campaign. And we grew that little zoo into something that people in the Quad City area were very proud of. It's nationally known for all of its success. And Harry said, you know, you want to meet Jack Hanna? And I had that opportunity, and it was an honor to meet him back in the mid-'90s. And just days after I met him, he came to the zoo in Illinois. We did a fantastic fundraiser, raising awareness about conservation, making a difference. And he also challenged me to make a difference in the zoo world and conservation, and it's an honor to be part of the zoo. So what's new at the zoo? I'm new at the zoo.
You are. Well, you're part of what's new at the zoo.
But the other thing that is such an honor, and if you all know Jack, he's very humble and he never talks about himself at all and what he means to this community. But he's celebrating 35 years as our zoo director and in the zoo business in Columbus. So let's hear it for Jack. And with that said, we're going to celebrate all year long 35 years of Jack Hanna. So it's all about khaki, everything about it.
There you go.
And it's going to be fun, and it's all about what makes this zoo different from all the other zoos. It's the fact that we engage our guests. We tell the story about conservation. We let you touch an animal, smell an animal, hear the stories from our experts. That's what Jack Hanna brought to this community. That's what we'll really emphasize in. We're also celebrating our 25th year at Wild Lights for Zoo Lights, so it's all about celebration. And one of the animals, well, it used to be here, right, 65 million years ago. What's new for us will be dinosaurs this year. And if people scratch their head and say, why would you bring dinosaurs into the zoo? It's about entertainment. It's about talking about animals that walked this earth, and we don't want that to happen to a polar bear. It's also very, very fun.
They're not real, though. They're not real.
No, they're not real, Jack. No, no. I promise you they're not real. But they look real. Their eyes will blink. They'll call. He always says they're going to spit fire. They do not spit fire. Maybe a little bit of water, but it'll be good.
But
That's what's
tell
new.
me how big they are. How big?
They're 42 feet long, 32 feet tall. That's our Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they really are. It's the top company in the world. These animals will come in. They're animatronic. So when you walk by them, you're wondering how in the world you care for a dinosaur. And it's all about having fun, something new, excitement, and it's all Jack Hanna. So we're happy for this year, but this is definitely a transition year for us because the #1 facility, Africa, is coming in 2014. Jack has been at the top of the design, and as we talk about building new habitats and new areas for our animals, we're the #1 zoo, and we don't have a giraffe, and that's unheard of. So we're bringing giraffes back, we're bringing zebras back, and we'll let Jack talk a little bit about his experiences. But let me just explain something that's very, very important. Jack has been blessed. I have been blessed to be able to travel around the world. He's done it 2 or 3 times around the world. I've traveled many places, and I've had an opportunity to capture video on the word conservation and see it in action. We've also seen it fail. There are people that are coming to the Columbus Zoo every single day that don't have the opportunity to travel to the worlds that we have been able to do. But the story needs to be told about how we can coexist with each other, that culture is extremely important, that we spread the message about ways that we can still take care of wildlife and wild places. We don't want people to look in encyclopedias or on the internet to see what a giant panda would be in China or an African lion in the plains. So this is going to be an exhibit beyond any facility you've ever seen in your life, and it'll tell a story about conservation.
It'll give us a chance also, while we get some background on you guys and really find some things out about you that we didn't know, it lets us know a little bit more about how the zoo became to be what it is. And I think it's kind of interesting. 35 years ago, Jack was fabricating slides from Africa, and you do that these days, you'd be out on your butt, right? I mean, if you fake something like that, you don't fake it anymore. You bring in fake dinos, but that's a different deal. How much do you love the dinosaurs, and where did you get the idea?
Well, I've had the idea for quite a while with the dinosaurs. We had a few of them like 15 years ago. Back then they were just making them. They were only like 6, 7 feet long, but these things have gotten to where now it's frightening. Some of the kids that see them will probably start screaming and crying, but we're trying not to scare them too bad. But it's really amazing when you see these things. You don't want to miss it with your kids, grandkids, whoever it is. Even the adults by yourselves will see what we're going to do up there. So I've always wanted that. Up in Montana, where I am part-time, that's where the last of the dinosaurs on Earth, believe it or not, died right there below Alberta province going into Montana. And those plains there as the Ice Age came in. So there's thousands of them up there looking for bones. I actually went up there last year looking for bones. And I'm not supposed to take a bone out of the park, but I just nice dinosaur bone. I snuck it in my pocket, and I didn't make it out of the park. Terrible. No, they got me, but I just told them I was going to use it for education. I thought that was a good excuse, education, but whatever. But the dinosaur ad, everybody, that's going to be something else. I just filmed it. It took us 2 days down in Tampa. They actually closed the neighborhood down. And I've done a lot of ads for things, but nothing where you get in a car on top of a truck like they always do, and a boom and all that stuff. And I got in there, they had the dinosaur sitting I'm in a Jeep, all right, the dinosaur sitting next to me, this dinosaur. It's the funniest thing, because then what happens is the dinosaur goes, like that, and stuff comes flying out of his mouth. It's incredible. Ron Foth created this. And they have these like 15 big, huge squirt guns. You've seen them around pools, And so the person driving the car that's chasing me with my dinosaur, I hope this works, by the way, because they're going to be animated too. But they put like 25 gallons of KY jelly in these water guns, and they splattered all the guy's windshield. The rhinosaur's snot and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the funniest thing you've ever seen. What did you see this ad? It's
How
either gonna
was your
work or
meal
not
today?
work.
Did you enjoy lunch?
No. Anyway, it was funny. You got to see this ad. You asked me about the dinosaurs, right?
Yes, yes.
Anyway, Africa, back to Africa. It is amazing, folks, Africa. It really is. It's going to be probably one of the finest in the country. Disney has a magnificent one. Busch Gardens does. Those African develops are anywhere from probably 40 acres to 70 acres. How much total land is up there now? With phase
110 acres.
110 acres.
Yeah, and we're going to, phase 1 is 50.
Right. So you can imagine, not because we ever chose to build the largest African developed in the country, but that's what it's turned out is not now. The first phase will be in there. But again, it just shows you what can happen. Robin Holden, for example, one of our trustees, there's several of them, he's sitting here, obviously, on the executive board back then, that he kind of went out like Walt Disney, sneaking around the area up there, not sneaking around, but bought up. The zoo was on 90 acres, everybody. It's now how big?
Yeah, it's a very large
Almost
facility.
600 acres.
Yeah.
Not because we not because we wanted to be the biggest zoo. It's a matter that we knew we could never expand. So whoever takes over after myself, Tom, in the years to come, will have something there, not like Cincinnati's got a great zoo. Atlanta, I can name hundreds of them. There are 220 in the country, by the way, zoos. But they can't go anywhere. They're on 30, 40 acres. They'll never go anywhere. They're either downtown, inner cities, or neighborhoods where the thing can't expand. Whereas up here, the opportunity of a lifetime is for whoever visits there in the next 100 years. And that's
it was all about vision. And Jerry Bourne, ladies and gentlemen, is Jerry, would you stand up? Jerry is
there many years.
He is definitely the reason why we have the success, the acreage, the vision. Absolutely.
So that's what it was. You picture in 1978, folks, when I just happened to come up here, the Wolves, Mel Dodge, and some of the people, the McConnells found me down there in Tennessee, came up here with my family in a car, went and lived here with about, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 employees, not many at all, a budget maybe 1.1 million, that kind of money. Visitors, they said, were 220,000. That was probably fudged. It was all sorts of things going on then. And now today, you can imagine, 2.4 million people going to the zoo, a budget of 59 million, an economic impact of what a year?
150 million a year.
In that area. The shows that you've been able to let me do, whether it be the Ellen, Good Morning America, we celebrate 30 years every month on Good Morning America on October 3rd when the twin gorillas were born. It's our 28th year on David Letterman, the longest running guest on that show. And by the way, I've never talked to him before or after the show in 28 years. I don't say it in public very often. I'd have no reason to talk to him, so that's why it works. So you take all those shows and the 3 national TV shows we do from the zoo, by the way. We have a set at the zoo. If you watch ABC on Saturday morning, we have a set at the zoo that costs $70,000 or so. And from that one set, we have 4 sets inside of it. We don't go to Hollywood or New York. We do national shows from inside that set. Pretty soon we're going to have a satellite, I think, up there.
We already have it.
Where you don't have to go down to like Mills James, places like, nothing wrong with Mills James if you're from Mills James, sorry. But I love Mills James. I'm just saying we can do it all from the zoo.
Actually, this is in cooperation with Mills James because we take the video and it goes to Mills James and then they throw it out.
So we can do it when they come there and do all of our interviews, whether it's like the terrible thing that happened with a young lady last week in California. The zoo is a repository now for these networks to come here and get answers to serious questions as well as fun questions. So you look at all that stuff, people, and you also look at the economic impact from the exposure from all these shows, not just Jack Hanna, from the zoo. You're talking last year was over $31 million in free advertising, mentioning Columbus, Ohio, Columbus Zoo, Columbus, Ohio. 31 million plus is what some of the firms here have studied, not me. And so with all that, you can see what you guys have built here. It's more than a zoo, everybody. It's almost like a happening now. When you look back at 78, I walked there by myself at night. I walked through there. It's beyond a dream that any of us could ever have in the world, what's happened to that place. How do you become #1 zoo in the country when it is a gorgeous day yesterday? I mean, it's not a tourist destination by any means, but how does that happen? It happens because what Tom said. We've kept the zoo fun. We've kept it where you go there to have fun. You don't go there and tell your kid you're going to learn the Latin names of giraffe or all that garbage.
They're there.
I know they're there, but it makes no difference they're there. I don't like them.
Well, it depends.
I'm from Tennessee. I don't even know how to pronounce Latin stuff. Anyway, the point is they go there to have fun with their kids, and they have a safe time there. And then they leave there saying, boy, I didn't know the giraffe has that many vertebrae in their neck like we do. I didn't know the giraffe had the bigger heart than the elephant. It's things that they just have fun with, and that's the success of the zoo. We always made it fun. The board of trustees have always allowed me, well, they don't allow it anymore. I had the great Melendez walk across the tigers in '84, and I got kicked out of the American Zoo Association for that. That was a good idea, though. We had 10,000 people watch it, but he didn't fall in. And then I got the great zucchini in 1986, got shot out of a cannon over the lake at the zoo, but what happened was the cannon broke and he fell through the windshield of the truck. Mel Dodge didn't like that at all because he was director of Parks and Recreation. I could go on and tell you a lot. Oh, one last story. I got a bunch of them, but one last one. The gorillas at the zoo weren't feeding their babies, all right? They just weren't doing it. We'd pull the gorillas because that's what you did back then. They were so valuable.
Oh, boy. I know this story.
Well, this is a good idea. I just had an idea. My wife breastfed her kids, so what I thought was, it's called the Leche League. I read the paper, and so I put an advertisement in the paper for the Leche League that come up there and have the women with their babies breastfeed in front of the gorillas that get ready to have babies. And so I locked the building down. I didn't have to. I had over 100 applicants in less than a day. Called me on the phone at the zoo. I didn't choose them. I just said the first 10 to show up. So they showed up. I take them over there to the building, the old ape house. I shut the door. I stood outside the door. I let the female gorillas loose. And Harry knows this. All of a sudden, about a half hour later, a lady comes out, and I said, boy, that was quick. She said, Mr. Hanna, this is all right, but there's only, the other gorillas over there, and only one gorilla watching. It was Oscar the male. The rest of the females didn't even go over there. So my idea flopped. And now they won't let me do anything else. Now that they have me as director emeritus, they sit me in my little office, and Tom goes, oh, where are you going now? That's good, Jack. I'll see you later. Stay away for about 6 weeks.
So there's good reason why what happens at the zoo a lot of times stays
at the zoo.
At the zoo, you know. We know the zoo is big enough to house the most recognizable animal there because you and your wife have moved on campus there at the zoo. But I think, Jack, what you were referring to, and we have business folks from all over Columbus here, and what you're referring to is a collaborative Columbus that has brought the zoo to where it is today. Tom, why don't you tell me, with 2014 and the Safari Africa coming, how are you funding that?
Well, the main reason why the Columbus Zoo is so successful is community support. And we have so many community leaders today just in this room that support the zoo, and we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for their support. And also the Franklin County voters. So when we talk about funding, we are receiving tax levy funds to support capital for this Africa facility. But because the facility is very large, it comes with an expense. And so we're fundraising. And we're talking to people about that cultural experience and getting buy-in, and the community is responding. We're very, very happy to say that we're just about funded completely for this exhibit, and it'll open May 2014.
There couldn't be a better person, obviously. Jack, all your travels all around the world, having the wild so closely. I mean, you and I have spent time there, and you've said you can't see things like this anywhere but Africa. Yeah. And you bring a slice of that a little closer to Columbus now.
Yeah, and Tom said it very well. So many people, 99.9% of the people in this country will never go to Africa. Not that some people can't do anything, but the point is they get to go there and immerse themselves in what it really looks like. And it really is going to look like what you're going to see up there. It's taken a lot of work. It's taken 3 years to build. A lot of times these things take a year and a half to build, but we try to make it meticulous. We try to make it to where the trustees know this. There's a housing development back there, so we met with them first, and I just asked if they'd mind lines in the backyard. That didn't go over good, but I said there'd be a fence, obviously. Don't worry about it. Nothing will get loose. Just my luck, something will fly out of there the first day. But we have mounds and fencing, and we put the earth up way high there so you wouldn't get a sense of looking at Africa, but looking at the houses in the background, which 99% of the zoos have that. They don't have the land that we have. And so that's what it's going to be. It really is. It's not a matter of, are there other things that we could do with money in this city? Of course we could. But it's more than that. It's what I did. When I said the little girl, I do a lot of special wish things at Columbus Zoo. They fly there from all over the country, not just see Jack Hanna, but to see the animals. And out of the last 6 weeks, I've seen 3 of the little girls. 2 have passed away in the last 2 weeks. But they sat there in that wheelchair. They sat there with the tubes in them, and they sat there. We have all these stories here where the Children's Hospital is tremendous, obviously. That's where my daughter is today, by the way. But the point is that they sit there, and that they're in pain. But for that brief, just 15 minutes that they traveled, one was from California, one was from Florida. That brief little bit, they sit there and they smile. That I get chills because that's what it is about with me. That's all. It's not a matter of helping the animal world. It's a matter of what these animals do for the people world. When we go to hospice, when people are in hospice, older people, we take the animals there. For example, when the one father with the girl that passed last week, I said, here's the palm civet. It was on her lap, and I said, here, she might want to wash her hands afterwards. And when he looked at me and said, there's no need to wash your hands, Jack. In other words, he said it there to me, what was going to happen in a few days. And when you have that happen to you folks, that's what the zoo is all about. And it never has been, this sounds terrible maybe to some animal people in this business, zoo people. It never really has been about the animals. That wasn't the problem when I came to Columbus. And Mel Dodge saw that. I mean, it wasn't the problem at all. It was a problem of the people. Why would they go up there? I mean, it's kind of funny. The zoo was under the Sewers and Drains Department. I mean, that's a great thing. Where Sewers and Drains Department outfits on. First I saw it, I said, what the hell's going on? The Sewers and Drains Department, it should be in Parks and Recreation. And Mel said, yeah, let's do that, Jack. And that's the first thing the board did. Matter of fact, I think one of our mayors is in here right now. No, I saw Buck Reinhardt earlier. Where, did he leave?
No, he's...
Oh, there he is. I thought you might have a dozer up there going through the old part of the zoo. That's a great man back there. He helped us a lot. But that's really what it's all about for me, folks, are the people aspect of the zoo. And that's how we built the zoo. For the people, it's been built by the people.
Yeah. And I'll emphasize, by the mid-'90s, when I first met Jack, and then I started traveling with him, doing all his theater shows, promoting other zoos to help them and spread that message, and then all the national television shows. We would be in a theater with 2,300 people, and we would have a show in Connecticut and have to go into New York that night, and we wouldn't leave until 2,300 people were able to sit back, tell Jack a story, he signs an autograph, and he does that at every single opportunity. He is a kind person who cares about animals but really cares about people, and that's why Columbus Zoo is a nationally known tourist destination. It's because of what Jack has brought.
Everybody.
And, well, see, he's humble about that. And we have all learned, I have learned in my career. I started off as a young guy that loved animals, grew up on a farm, met Jack, saw what he does for people, and realized that if you tell the story and you're sincere and passionate about that story, people will support you. And the support is needed for us to tell that story. We were doing a show at the Wilds with a guy from Good Morning America, and he was sitting there talking about conservation, the definition of conservation. Remember that? And he said to us, and we were talking about why it's so important. The definition of conservation isn't the management of animals, it's the management of people. And in order for us to make a difference and have an impact for the future, we have to tell the story. And we're very proud that the Columbus Zoo supports 71 different projects around the world in 30 different countries. And we privately raise millions of dollars, and we give that money away. And it's not about animals. It's about also people. And we can talk all day long about what we've been able to do at Partners in Conservation in Rwanda, where we see a gorilla, and we realize that we're losing them because of their habitat and because of poaching. These people aren't poaching because they hate animals. They poach because they have to feed their families, and they have to care for their families. We educate them, promote ecotourism, which is getting people like us to go to see these animals, protect their habitats, make a difference for their culture, and then we can all coexist. That's what it's about. That's what Africa will be. We're going to highlight 7 different projects that we work with. And as you travel through the village, you hear the music, you see the dance, you smell the smells of the great food, you see the lions, you get to feed a giraffe, you see a cheetah run right past you, you see Jack's camp where the monkeys are raiding the camp. It's all about fun, but at the end, we're going to ask you, what did you learn? And you're going to say, I didn't realize the projects that the Columbus Zoo supports in Africa. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that the cheetah, because of the cheetahs that Jack walks around with throughout this nation, hundreds of thousands of dollars have been raised for the cheetah conservation projects. He's an ambassador. The animals are ambassadors. We're bringing it home to Columbus and promoting what we do for Africa.
Cheetah's hand raised right there at the zoo as
Absolutely.
well. And I think it's very interesting when you talk about what is going on with those couple of things and your relationship together. You talk about support. Didn't you help him with animals? I mean, you can't have enough animals to get on Letterman all the time and all these shows all the time. You need help with other animals from other zoos.
I said I was the Vanna White for Jack Hanna. Yeah. If we go back in the YouTube films, you'll see this beautiful arm and maybe a watch. So that's me, and then I'm out. That's as far as it goes. But, yeah. But he does. There's no question about it. We have partnerships throughout the nation. We travel. I would get up in the morning in Illinois and drive straight to New York. We would do shows throughout that time. We'd stay. I literally would sleep with a zebra in my hotel room. That's not a joke. Or a camel or a tiger. And then the next morning we would take off and go back. And we would do that throughout the nation. And we continue to do that. And it's because we need to spread that message and entertain and educate people about this great world.
That brings up one last story. Now, I know it's time for a question, or y'all go back to work. Anyway, you have to hear this story, though. You brought it up, okay? Letterman show. Anyway, people always ask me everywhere I go, like yesterday when we were doing the kids in Nashville and all that kind of thing, oh my Jock, what's the worst bite you ever had? What's the worst experience you ever had in the jungles or wherever you go? Obviously getting bitten like some of us or whatever, that's not something you brag about. Like a race car driver, you don't brag about wrecking your car. But what this one happened in 1987, right when I just started doing the Letterman show, you don't mind hearing the story real quick, do you? It takes about 3 minutes. Robin knows the story, don't give it away. Anyway, this is the craziest thing ever happened to me. One of the worst bites I ever had was by a beaver on the David Letterman show. Of all the animals, a beaver on the David Letterman show. My buddy is named Leslie Witt. Leslie now has passed on. He had actually had a total heart replacement, but he was just a dear friend of mine. A little zoo down in Alexandria, Louisiana. He and I became buddies in 79, 80. I went to a conference, and I just fell in love with Leslie. And so I'd been doing Letterman a few times, and he calls me up and said, Jack, I got a great animal for you. What's that, Leslie? I got the biggest beaver in captivity. I said, well, how big is it? Well, it's 35 pounds. I said, God, I need to get the book out. I read the book out. 28-pound beaver is the biggest one ever in the wild.
So it was a fat beaver.
It was a fat beaver, yes. Anyway, so Leslie, by the way, has never been on a plane, okay, ever. I said, okay, Leslie, I'll call the Letterman. You can bring the beaver to New York. Now, that was when we did the show at NBC after Carson on the 5th floor of Rockefeller Center. Little old studio like Ed Sullivan Theater is a pretty big place, not as big as you might think, but it's just a little old studio, not even as big as that part of that room there was what we filmed in after his show. And so he flew up there. He said, I'm going to have to take a pill. I said, take a pill. I can't bring the beaver. You can't drive a beaver for 5 days up here. Just fly up here, Leslie, take a pill. So he took a pill, came with the beaver. It was huge, by the way. And so I call up Letterman. They make a tub, like about half as big as that circle tub, that table there, and put it out front there. And the beaver gets in the water, and I bring the beaver out like this, holding him, just like Leslie told me. And he was a neat animal. I put him in the water. He's swimming around, flopping around, everything. People are laughing, and he's pooping in the water. It's just a great thing. And so it went too long. I usually have 2 animals a segment. So I pick up the beaver just like Leslie told me, like by the tail, and I go like this with Paul Shaver, the band. He hit a note he's not supposed to play then. He hit a note, and the beaver swung around. You can still see the scar from here to there. The beaver went right through that part of the hand. Got all these nerves. So when I buttoned, matter of fact, just in the bathroom, I didn't button this button, and you probably thought I was, if you walked in the bathroom, he was helping me button my shirt because I can't feel anything over here right now. It never will this thumb. It didn't get the tendons. It got that big blood vessel right there, and the blood was going like this, shooting out. And so I turned, though, when he bit me, so going off stage. So Letterman never knew. And back then, Letterman only had 3 cameras that they showed NBC. Today, they have 22 cameras. You should know how they do it today in that place. So I walked back there, and the blood's flying everywhere. Suzi Rapp was back there, and she goes, my God, what happened? I said, that beaver bit me. And I was sweating. You ever been in like a shock? It was killing me. You can imagine the tooth up into there. And I was just, the sweat was pouring off of me, and I found a piece of toilet paper, paper towel on the floor, because I said, I can't be caught getting bitten by a beaver on the Letterman show. Dear God, help me. I only have 1 more segment left. And I had 2 electric eels I was going to bring out there. Yes. But the neat thing was I had a rubber glove because I created this at the zoo. I had a little tank built with 2 cylinders like this for the electric eels. The guy in maintenance helped me build this. And I had an idea that I'd put a little thing in my gizmo, like a little garage door in my pocket, and it would be a battery run where when David went like that with his hand, the electricity would go up in the eel tank.
That was my water, Jack.
This, I'm sorry. There, how's that? Now, so, anyway, so what I did was I had to finish this thing. So I had my little gizmo in my pocket. They put it in there because I couldn't even use this hand. I put the rubber glove on. I walked out my electric. See, you get what I'm saying? He's going to put his hand in electricity. They don't operate that with the eels, but he doesn't know any difference. So nobody watching knows any difference except me, this idea I had. So I'll go out there with my eels and put them in there. But this time, I get ready to vomit because it was that bad. I mean, I was like
the eels or the beaver?
Me. I'm getting rid of the beaver. The beaver's back there in his box. Anyway, so I go out there with my electric eels, and I'm going like this, and I'm just sweating up a storm. But the one guy saw it down in the control room. And he holds up a sign. If you know anything about Letterman, he reads cue cards. Yes, he does a monitor when you introduce the show, but during the thing, he does not go by a monitor like some other guys do. He has a cue card writer. And by the way, it's amazing. The cue card writer makes over $400,000 a year. Think about that. He's a buddy of mine. And he has it so fast you can't watch what he's doing. He goes like this. He's been there for 30 years. He goes, Jack's been severely bitten in the show. Now, I didn't see the sign that he held up, but Letterman saw it. And one thing he doesn't like is surprises. He hates it. And he goes, okay, Jack, get your animals, put them back in the car. You just got them in the dog shelter. Get those things back to Columbus. So I get out of here. And then everybody claps, everything. He looks at me, and right then the blood is just starting to come out the top of the glove on his desk. He goes, oh, my God, what happened? Call an ambulance. I said, no, you can call no ambulance. I don't want an ambulance. I said, the beaver bit me. He goes, it's bad, isn't it? Because he freaks out. He's kind of skittish, you know. I said, yeah, it hurts. I want to go to the hospital. I said, where do I go? He said, Roosevelt Hospital, downtown New York City. Go there. And he said, I'll call it. I said, you can't call a cab. It's Christmas time. It's December 17th. You get a cab at Rockville. Still that Christmas tree out there. You can't even find anybody to help you. So I put on my jacket. Suzi Rapp helps me. We go 6 blocks. We go to the hospital. I was like this, trying to hold it like this. I didn't want to bleed to death. The only thing I could do was hold it like this. I had my little safari outfit back on the end was more of a paler color. So I walk and I go in the emergency room door. And this is all true, documented. If you don't believe me, ask Suzi Rapp. I go in the door and all of a sudden I go, oh my God, what am I going to tell him? My mind clicked in. And blood was all over me. I'm talking about all of my, everywhere in this whole area, just blood everywhere. I walk in there and they go, shooting victim, behind the desk. This is true. I go up the desk, I guess, they said, where were you shot? I said, I wasn't shot. Because I know I have to tell them the truth. I said, I was bitten by a beaver. And the girl, this nurse goes, you're bitten by a beaver, where? I go, my mind's 100 miles. I said, in Central Park. She goes, swear to God, you ask the next question. She goes, I've been here for 40 years. There are no beavers in Central Park. I said, you're right, there are no beavers there. I was exercising my pet beaver in Central Park. My mind was going 100 miles an hour. She goes, excuse me, could you come back here a minute? I swear, she took me back behind there in one of those little rooms. And by that time, a doctor had come downstairs. She said, could you wait a minute? They brought another guy down. I'm sure he was one of these people, because blood, and they looked at my hand, and it was gross. I'm going to tell you something. I looked down that hole, and I just almost threw up again. They said, you got a real bad bite. I said, no shit, I've been bitten by a beaver. I got a bad bite. So they start cleaning this whole thing out, numbing my hand, everything like this, and they fix the hand up. It opens, it drains. They leave it open. You have to go back to Columbus. You have a hand surgeon here in town. I can't remember his name. He knew him, though. Huh? That's it. That's him, Jerry. Oh. Anyway.
I've heard the story.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where they sent me to see him. Of course, I had to go through the whole crap again, bitten by a beaver. But the amazing thing is, I know this is maybe off color, but I'm just telling you what, on national TV. I go back 2 months later, like I always do. 2 months later, I go back on there, and he said, hey, Jack. I said, what's that, Dave? He said, I hope you learned a lesson. Don't ever mess with another man's beaver. Right on national TV. That's a true story.
True story. All right, we promise.
I couldn't make that up.
We promised that we would allow some folks to ask a few questions here. So we're gonna bring a few people up here to ask some questions. Let's have our first contestant come up here. Very quickly, Tom, before we do, when can we see the dinosaurs, and when is Africa going to open?
Dinosaurs will start in May
Okay.
of this year, and Africa will open May of 2014. So,
Okay.
and before because I don't know how long the questions will go, thank you all for coming. Thank you all to this community for your support. It is honestly the only way we can be as good as we are, and being able to take it to that next level is with community support. So thank you all for your sponsorship and giving me an opportunity to do this. So, go ahead.
All right, young lady, you have a question for me?
Sure, yeah. No, I'm Beth Berkmer at the Columbus Metropolitan Library. Thank you, Zoo, for your huge support of the Summer Reading Club.
Absolutely.
But my question is as well, can you kind of touch on the phrase or where it came from and how it correlates? Open the heart to open the mind?
Yeah, open the heart to teach the mind came from a young man that was like my son, Jeff Swanigan, who it came from. And Jeff worked for me at the Columbus Zoo in 1979-80. He was at Ohio State University. He helped me pick up trash. But then I said, I'm serious about this. We did everything, all of us did. There wasn't any departments. And I said, will you help get an education division going? And sure enough, he not only got an education division going, he was there 8 or 9 years. The Atlanta Zoo, a buddy of mine trying to turn that zoo around, asked if he needed help for a guy that could maybe take over later. He got hired right overnight down at Atlanta Zoo, went down there and turned that thing around. Then the Tampa Bay Aquarium, which was going bankrupt, they built a beautiful $40 million aquarium downtown that went like Denver built one that closed. But anyway, the Tampa one was having problems. Jeff took that over, turned it around in less than 16 months. It's now one of the finest aquariums in the world. Then Bernie Marcus, founder of Home Depot, took Jeff, hired him to build that big aquarium in Atlanta, the largest in the world, by the way, bigger than one in Japan. I flew him to 40 different countries over 2 years. And then Jeff designed and built the Atlanta Aquarium. About whatever it was, Jeff passed 2 years ago. Jeff called me up and said, Jack, I want to come to Columbus. You're looking for someone. Jerry was retiring. And Jerry knew Jeff well. And we interviewed 6 candidates. Make a long story, Jeff blew them all out. And I said, we can't pay you what Bernie Marcus pays you. And he said, no, I'm not coming there for that. Ohio's my home. Ohio State's my alma mater. And he was a big alumni fan, by the way. And so he flew up here. He was here exactly 1 year and 1 day. I just gotten back from Rwanda with our school and our orphanage over there. Landed, just got home, getting ready to eat just a halfway decent meal. I got a call from the zoo saying that Jeff just left his house in the ambulance. I guess some neighbors saw him, and then I called up Dr. Yakubal over at Riverside, and he said, I'll be back to you in 2 minutes. He called back and said, I'm sorry, Jack. Make a long story short, he had a massive heart attack at 50 years old. So my whole dream of having somebody kind of like myself take over was gone. And then, of course, we went into other things back there. That's how Jeff always said that to all of us when he came there. Touch the heart to teach the mind. Touch the heart to teach the mind. What a beautiful quote. We have it on all of our stuff now, all of our stationery, everywhere we use that quote.
And what it means is it's clear that when we engage our guests and we talk about the animals and be able to love them for what they are and to learn about them, you'll protect them. And that's what it means.
Yep.
We have another question out there. We have 2 hours of fun jammed into 45 minutes with Jack. He's the only guy that can do that, you know?
I'm P. Suzi, and I work for the CMC. I'm so happy to see you here again. But I thank AT&T and Nationwide for Sunday morning. I've given up going to church on Sunday because of Into the Wild. I can see those shows over and over and over and over again and not want to miss a one. I'm concerned about, thank you for conservation, but I'm concerned about the word attacking, the term that's been used with regard to the woman that was killed in California. When I hear reporters say the animal attacked the woman, I wonder if there's a way that we can turn that around and educate people. The animal, did it attack? Right. And when we hear the word attack, yep, I think it gives us a certain feel, right, a certain different
Right, if you watch the interviews, 15 or so I did last week, about every network there was, you watch how I corrected those people. I call it an encounter. We as humans created the word dangerous, deadly, attacking, whatever. And some people know that in Montana what happened to my wife and I 2 years ago. I've done this for 40-something years. We were approached, is the word I use, by a grizzly. And the grizzly had an encounter with us. The word the media used was attacked us. Well, that's great. That's what happened, but that's not a word that I use, because when we film our show or whatever we do, at least I try to do this, some shows on what you watch is garbage today. They're jumping on the animals, blood's flying everywhere, all that kind of stuff. We have a comfort zone of myself and my crew. We have a comfort zone of the animal. When comfort zones cross, a train wreck's going to happen. End of story. Has it happened to us? Yes, it's happened, but we didn't make it trying to happen. Steve Irwin, my good friend that lost his life, he would tell you it was his fault. 99% of the time when there's a death out of what we do, either filming or in a zoological park, 99% of the time it's human error. Same thing with my good friend Dawn at SeaWorld, who had to do her funeral. That was very difficult. Her hair fell out of a bun out of her head. She worked with that whale for 14 years. The media went nuts on that. You know, and I'm in the media, so are you. But that's what brings news. It was very sad because she was growing her hair for locks of love. She had no children. Her hair was to be cut 2 days later. But the hair fell out in the whale's face. Well, grabbed it, and of course the rest is history. She would tell you that was her fault. And if you look at the death at the Knoxville Zoo by the elephant, or the one in Alabama, or the one that this young lady, and by the way, the guy that owns that place in California, I've met him several times. His best friend's my friend. They're calling a lot of the stuff you're hearing is not true. The young girl went through 1 gate, 2 gates. She wasn't supposed to be in any of those areas. And this is a lion that, as you know, broke her neck in one swipe. It's in my book, I had to pick up the arm of a 3-year-old boy at my place in 1972 in Tennessee, where I had wild animals, raising them for zoos. I had beautiful places there. Some woman came up when I was at my dad's farm, brought her child over. I had 2 girls in, brought her child over one fence, another fence. Make a long story short, the lion took the arm off in a split second at the shoulder. The lion, when I went to get the little arm, because the state trooper took me there because they wouldn't go in there, and I went in there, the little arm only had a little indentation in it. But the power, folks, of these animals is beyond anything you can imagine. When I film a tiger, a lion, make a kill, tiger in India, whatever, it happens less than 3. Every time, I don't show it on our show, by the way. I'll show the hunt, but never the kill on our shows. Because it's like something you sit and go, oh my God. And when you see that, then you understand what can happen. Zanesville, real quickly, and I won't go into it. Zanesville, because I get asked just like in Nashville night before last. Every time I tried to sign an autograph, not much anymore. Why did you, Jack Hanna, have to kill the animals in Zanesville? Jack Hanna didn't kill the animals. The sheriff and I had to enter. Tom was right there from the very start. We had to do it very quickly because you had 52, picture 17 lions, 19 tigers, mountain lions as well, not just African lions, leopards, grizzly bears, wolves. All loose, wolves, all loose at the same time on the hillside. You can't even imagine it. The largest escape of animals in the history of the world. Also, as I talked to Governor Kasich, talked to John, I said, John, you realize once it was all over, that this publicity was greater than if you put Neil Armstrong, John Glenn, I don't care who the 7 presidents here, you put it all together, the exposure that terrible night was the most exposure this state had ever had internationally. Front page of London Times, front page of Australia, front page all over the world. We had the FBI in my office. We had 3 death threats to our family because of me issuing an order. It wasn't orders, it was an order to save human lives. That's what the order was about. So I'm trying to answer your question to understand that we deal with something like this. The public is our first priority in safety. Our animals are also right there at the top. We do everything we can at the Columbus Zoo. That doesn't mean nothing will ever happen at Columbus Zoo. It doesn't mean nothing will ever happen on the Ohio State football field and or NASCAR and or Indy. That's life. But it is a business of safety, and that's all we do is check and recheck and check and recheck all the time whenever we build anything. But by the way, the tranquilizer wouldn't have worked in Zanesville. That's what was upsetting. Because on the front page of London Times, you saw the 47 bodies of the animals we had to take down. The reason we did that, as Tom will tell you, because someone was lying to us about the numbers of animals. The foreman was. So he takes his little cell phone up there because Tom and I made sure that nobody got up there in the media. I don't care who it was. Nobody from any TV station or newspaper got up there to take a picture of this sheriff. And I took pictures for the lawsuits or whatever it's going to entail and locked up in the safe. The little guy took his cell phone. That guy was not telling us the true numbers and took a picture of that, which then went viral all over the world. It says on there, Sheriff Lutz and Jack Hanna issues order to kill. My daughter calls me from England crying, "How could you do this, Dad?" I said, "I didn't do anything." Well, what do you expect? Of course that's what people want to think. But that's what happened there. It helps me tell the story because that's another story I got to live with the rest of my life as well as he does.
It was a tragic day, and it was a day that I'm glad that Jack was there because it was comforting to the nation that when Jack was talking about this incident, he was able to explain what happened and what we cannot allow happening anymore. Folks, it's about animal welfare and public safety. And because of Jack moving forward, he helped get that law passed quickly, and we encourage everyone to support it. It is important that we do it nationally.
It really is. And how many tigers, you don't know this, folks, how many tigers were in the state of Ohio? Tell them. They won't be that.
Well,
Backyards. These aren't breeders.
Yeah.
Over 200.
Yeah, there was over 300.
200 tigers? 300, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
200, 300 tigers, who cares? I mean,
What's another 100
it was one of the worst
tigers?
states in the country. And so now it's taken care of.
It's, I don't know, are we, okay.
One question,
We can do one quick one.
because we're out.
I can't do quick.
I can do
I'm
two
sorry.
quick ones.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to get a picture. Sorry.
That's funny.
That's good.
There, Facebook. My name is John McKnight, and I was curious. Maybe this is a little premature because you got this big new exhibit you're launching. But what's next? You've been working on that, 3-some years.
Oh, we have a master.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot is
Bigfoot.
right.
Thank you.
You found it?
The Columbus Zoo, we work on our strategic planning, our master planning. We have a 10-year or 20-year plan. It's all about impact. It's all about growth and success. And so we're focusing on Africa, but as we look at things and we want to encourage guests to come in and have an opportunity to learn, there's big plans coming.
Tom, you mentioned just the comfort that we felt, Jack, when you got on the scene there. What folks don't know is Jack drove all night to get to that scene in Zanesville, to be there on hand, and to have these two assets in our community. You both used the word blessed. We couldn't be more blessed than to have these two gentlemen here in our community, certainly. So I'm going to turn it back over to Rich.
I'm looking down at the script and it says, I hope you enjoyed the forum today. Is that an understatement or what? Real treasures, the zoo, Jack, Tom, I'm glad you're on board. You have touched the heart and the minds. And I think the humor that you bring to it is just incredible. So thank you so much. You can view this all again on YouTube. You can get to it through our website. It's also now on the Ohio channel. We didn't tell you that beforehand.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And you're welcome to continue the conversation for a little bit because he has to get on the road after the program out in the lobby. We're green around here. We got to take our name tags and drop them in the basket. If you're interested in getting more information, getting us to that 1,000 mark, put your card in the back of the holder, and we'll get in touch with you. Be sure to schedule to register for next week's program with Kurt Moody. It'll be equally good. Let's thank our sponsors once more, U.S. Bank, the Dispatch, and let's really thank our speakers, Jack Hanna and Tom Stalf, and Jeff Hogan for his pleasure.